Hello and welcome back to WakeMed Soccer Park in beautiful Cary, North Carolina for the third annual TST tournament. As we mentioned about an hour ago, there is a big bag of cash on the line. 7 figures, $1 million, and a lot of exciting action to be had. This is Game 12 of the 134 that will be featured here on the, I'm not going to say the campus, but on the turf ground of the NC Courage in the NWSL. And the fan favorites, Wrexham Red Dragons, making their third appearance in the TST tournament, taking on Real Athletico in a Group F stage matchup. Hello and welcome back, everybody. My name is Christian Philemon, but they all call me Philly. Not because, like Rob McElhenney, I'm from the city of brotherly love. My last name is Philemon. I'm from a small town in Southern California called Los Angeles, and I'm excited to be a part of this with you. Real Athletico is a team making their first appearance ever in the TST tournament, and they're a team that consists of a lot of players that played collegiately and professionally, but the catch is most of them have come from mainstream American sports: football, baseball, and basketball. Not very many soccer players feature for Real Athletico. In fact, the player that we're going to keep an eye on for Real Athletico is number 11, Oscar Jimenez, who is a staple in the Southern Florida amateur leagues. He is the one with the experience. The athlete, though, is number 9, Jorge Solano, goes by the name of Bam, played college football in New York in the Bronx for the Fordham Rams. On the other end of the pitch, the fan favorites. We got a great crowd in, whether they're from the United States or from Wales itself. The Wrexham Red Dragons in their third annual TST tournament. Last year, they made it out of the group stages into the knockouts, where they lost to the Reggae Rovers in the round of 16 by a score of 5-1. The story of Wrexham has been an interesting one. And folks, if you haven't heard it, chances are you have been living under a rock. We do want to recognize and give a shout out to our friends watching this over in Wales. Whether you're at the Turf Hotel, Nag's Head, the Fat Boar, thank you so much for joining us this morning here in muggy, humid, and hot Cary, North Carolina. Your player to watch on the Wrexham Red Dragons, and they certainly have a who's who of players, but the player that I want to keep an eye on is number 11, George Boyd. George Boyd is one of the top scorers in the TST tournament. In fact, 11 goals scored. He's a player that's featured for clubs such as Nottingham, Hull City, Burnley, Sheffield Wednesday. But, of course, you've got the likes of Ben Tozer and the player that I'm excited about, Leicester City legend Mark Albrighton, wearing the number 7. He was on that 5,000-1 Leicester City underdog team that ended up shocking the world and winning the Premier League. What an exciting, exciting season that was. And we are underway live from Field 4 here at WakeMed Soccer Park, which is currently Soccer Central USA. The Wrexham Red Dragons taking on Real Athletico. For those, that's a not word. That's not even a word. For those that are joining us, again, thank you so much. For those that are new, we welcome you. This TST tournament, the TST acronym stands for the Soccer Tournament. This is a 7v7 tournament played on a small-sided pitch, 65 yards long, 45 yards in length, with smaller goals as well. 6.5 feet high, 18.5 feet wide. A lot of opportunity for glory. 2 20-minute halves. The clock continues to run unless the official calls a timeout or there is an injury on the pitch. Important to note, at the conclusion of the 2 20-minute halves, we are going to go into what's called target score time, and I will talk about that more later. The Wrexham Red Dragons, in this case, I will say, are heavily favored, mainly due to the fact that their entire team consists of players that have played professionally. They do have some young players. They do have some legends, a nice mix. And this is a team that is second all-time in scoring here in the TST tournament. Only one other team has scored more goals in the past couple of seasons than Wrexham. George Boyd is the leading scorer in this TST tournament. And will he be joined by the likes of a Mark Albrighton? Will Ben Tozer, a Wrexham legend, find the back of the net? Will we see one from Liam McAlinden? So many players that we can call out on this Wrexham side. and several talented players that we can also call out on the Real Athletico side. They like to refer to themselves as real athletes playing those mainstream sports here in the United States, but they have their work cut out for them. There's a shot that almost shocks all of us. The Wrexham Red Dragons, you guessed it, wearing the red and white kits. Real Atletico wearing the gray kits with what I believe to be an orange sleeve. Need to wear the shades here as the sun has been beaming down here. And again, thank you so much for joining us on this YouTube broadcast. This is game 12 of the 134 that we're playing here between June the 4th and June the 9th. The men's field has expanded itself from the first season, 48 teams. Opportunity for Wrexham to shine. That one comes well off of the mark. Punted into the wilderness by number 12, Callum Edwards. He certainly hit that soccer ball with a lot of ferocity, as he might have lost it into the woods. That one cleared the net and plenty more space. Real Atletico looking to settle into this. This is an exciting opportunity for them. So many talented teams in this TST tournament, and really anybody has a fighter's chance at winning. That target score time that I was alluding to, I'll reference it right now. Hypothetically, if Wrexham at the end of two 20-minute halves were leading by a score of 2-0, the target score would be 3, meaning whoever gets 3 goals wins. So after the two 20-minute halves, we go into target score time. That would give Real Atletico the opportunity to come back. Wrexham would need 1. Real Atletico shot opportunity saved. And a brilliant save. Wrexham has found a couple of quick and clean opportunities, but they have either muscled it well over the crossbar or right into the hands of the keeper. Just waiting for confirmation as to who the keeper is for Real Atletico. I believe that might be number 1, Joseph Rivas. Yeah, Joseph Rivas, it is confirmed getting the start in between the sticks for Real Atletico. As we mentioned, this is a team that consists of basketball players, baseball players, American football players. Can they shock the world? And in this case, the world is certainly converging here into Cary, North Carolina. As Wrexham just having some issues finding that chemistry. Real Atletico looking like a team of players that are comfortable within the sport. So going back to that target score time, we mentioned if it was 2-0 in favor of Wrexham at the conclusion of 2:20-minute halves, 3 would be the target score time. But as we head into that target score time, if the score is 2-0 and nobody scores, every 3 minutes, a player gets removed from each team. So we can go from 7v7 to 6v6 to 5v5, all the way down to no less than 2. So that's going to make for an exciting effort. There is a long opportunity, an ambitious one, taken by the legend himself, Mark Albrighton, as that sails well across the crossbar. 39 total goals scored by the Wrexham Red Dragons in the previous 2 TST tournaments. Newtown Pride currently holds that distinction with 45. Newtown Pride won the inaugural TST tournament a couple of seasons ago with a team consisting of several players from the Major Arena Soccer League in the United States. In fact, a lot of the success that has occurred here at the TST tournament has come from the MASL players, or as the Concava team likes to reference themselves as, the Arena Boys. The small-sided game falls in their favor, not only for the Arena Boys, but for futsalers as well. We've seen a lot of very talented players that have come into Cary, North Carolina and competed, the likes of a Sergio Aguero last season, and even he would admit he was surprised by the level of talent that has converged into Cary, North Carolina. I bring his name up because a lot of people outside will think, well, maybe this tournament is paying some of these players to come and attend and to grace us with their skills. The reality is none of these players are employees or under contract. In fact, a player of the likes of a Sergio Aguero is here despite the fact that it's his birthday and his son's birthday. So everybody here is fighting for that 7-figure cash prize and, of course, for the title of TST Dominance. Cary, North Carolina has taken in a new audience. In fact, 25% of the people that are in attendance throughout the course of this tournament are from out of state. And the attendance that we've seen continue to expand. In fact, from what I'm being told, 35% growth from last year. And as mentioned, 32 teams started the inaugural TST. We're up to 48. That is 12 groups of 4. Your top 2 move forward, and then you still have teams that could finish in third that if they finish in a top standing overall can still go through. Earlier this morning on Field 4, we saw Plymouth Argyle defeat the Drunken Monkeys in what was a very competitive game. Header goes, or cross goes into the boxes. That gets chipped out of play. 12 minutes remaining here within the first half. Both teams are deadlocked at a goose egg apiece. That's my slang for 0-0. The Wrexham story again, just one of the most incredible stories in global football. What they've done is they've built so many fans in the United States. In fact, I've come across plenty of Wrexham fans that clearly have American accents, and they are here to see the Red Dragons thrive and win. What Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have done have been incredible. There's an opportunity in the box. Defensively thwarted by Real Athletico. Getting into the way was Theodore Stamatopoulos. The Wrexham Red Dragons have their first set piece. Corner opportunity comes in. There we see Ben Tozer wearing number 5. Ben Tozer, many of you would recall from the show. 118 caps, 6 goals with Wrexham. Pressure from the Red Dragons as that one gets launched and out of play. Tozer keeps it in. Athletico maintaining that possession. Ball comes into the box. Punches through, saved. Real Athletico coming out incredibly aggressive. They don't seem to be too fazed by the Wrexham aura, as John Celebreu did have a very valiant effort and a nice clean look on goal. Pass comes into Stamatopoulos, and that one deflects past the touchline. It's going to be Red Dragon ball. Ben Tozer again, 118 caps, 6 goals. Cheltenham Town is where he featured on 119 occasions. Played at Wrexham from 2021 through 2024. So we're halfway through the first half. No goals thus far in what's been a very physical and aggressive contest thus far between a team of experienced players and really just an athletic team. Hence the name Real Athletico. Yes, Real does mean obviously what it means, but they refer to themselves as real athletes, and these real athletes are showing up and showing out. Joseph Rivas, their keeper, has been tested on a couple of occasions, and we have seen some nifty efforts. That crosses past the midfield. The touch too strong. Coming off of Abreu. No throw-ins in the TST tournament, hence the kick into play. On a field this small, anyone can easily throw it across the length of the pitch, and there are plenty of players on Wrexham that are quite strong and formidable with throw-in attempts as a foul gets called, whistled on the turf. I should call it the pitch, the grass. Called many games on turf, and thankfully, this isn't turf, as I've seen plenty of boots melt in my time calling collegiate games in the United States on turf. Free kick opportunity here for the Red Dragons as we are past the halfway point here in this first half. Wrexham looking to continue on their winning ways. As mentioned, losing to Reggae Red Rovers in the round of 16 last season. Tozer gets the ball stripped away. Abreu's been all over it, box to box. Pressure being applied, kicked away. There's that Wrexham pressure. That is being somewhat of a calamitous scenario for Real Athletico. The passing has been a lot crisper for Wrexham here in the later stages of this first half. Ball quickly gets put into play by McAlinden. A little bit about McAlinden. Played on that National League Championship side for Wrexham. 46 games with 1 goal. Started his career with Wolverhampton. Played over at Exeter City. Cheltenham is a team that continues to come up on this lineup. The Ireland and North Ireland squad in his youth career. McAlinden looking to have an impact here. Wrexham with possession. It's impressive how this fan base has grown. I'm seeing a lot of Wrexham gear all across Field 4 here at the WakeMed Soccer Park. Pressure being applied. Real Athletico gets the ball back. The chip in just above the right end of the post. A solid attempt indeed by number 17, Juan Hernandez. Crossing in, and that's going to come out of play. So we're about 6.5 minutes away from heading into halftime. And this is an eye-raising, eye-popping event, as I would have thought the Wrexham Red Dragons would have been heavily favored against a team of collegiate and professional athletes from a sport that isn't soccer. But you got to tip your hats off to Real Athletico. They are really putting in a tremendous effort against a team that has been known to score a tremendous amount of goals throughout the course of its history in the TST. That one gets launched across the pitch. Counterattack opportunity for Real Athletico. But Wrexham's defense comes up. The foul is drawn. Once again, that is McAlinden. Mentioned his name a couple of times. Getting ready to put the ball back in play. We see number 4, James Chester, on the pitch for Wrexham. James Chester, 35 caps with Wales. Had his youth career beginning with Manchester United. In fact, he did feature one time for Manchester United. Played 156 games with Hull City back between 2011 and 2015. That's where he got a significant amount of his playing time throughout his professional career. So that ball comes out of play. Aston Villa as well for James Chester. 119 appearances with 12 goals. Stoke City, in fact, nearly 500 games played throughout the course of his professional career. An impressive body of work. Opportunity deflects. Wrexham looking to regain possession. But Real Athletico fighting for every single possession. Ben Tozer wide open as that attempt goes right into the hands of Real Atletico's keeper, Joseph Rivas. Rivas rolls the ball back onto the pitch and into play on that right side. But Wrexham looking to maintain their attack. Jake Hyde applying his pressure. Jake Hyde, 16 appearances with Wrexham during the years of 2021 through 2023. In fact, owner of a gym and a fitness influencer. So he's carved out a nice career for himself off of the pitch. As a foul is going to be called on number 11, George Boyd. George Boyd with that luscious head of hair. In fact, a man like myself in his mid-40s, rather jealous of that head of hair by Boyd. Boyd, the all-time leading scorer here at the TST tournament. 11 goals throughout his few campaigns. No foul called, as we did see a trip. Wrexham, there's another attempt. Their shots, not sure if they are misjudging the size 5 miter ball, but we've seen a couple of attempts that have sailed well, not just off target, but sailing well above the crossbar. And so the height of that crossbar, we're talking 6.5 feet, so not very tall. 18.5 feet wide. There's an attempt. Oh, just sails above. Almost threaded through by number 10, Randy Hurley, who's not only a player at Real Atletico, but also the general manager. Randy Hurley, an ex-college football player at Merrimack College. We see his husky build. Somebody who'd be pretty hard to muscle off of the ball. Back into that midfield as the pass comes into Chester. Chester connects with Alex Moore. In on that left side. Back over to Tozer. Tozer, a fan favorite, clearly, with the time he's had playing for the Red Dragons. Ball gets turned over. Open opportunity. Take it away defensively. No foul in the box. No foul in the box whatsoever as Real Athletico trying to get out of their defensive end of the pitch. Getting close to that halftime mark. So less than 120 ticks of the game clock as that ball sails over the crossbar and just off the hands of a fan. And we're seeing a lot of fans here converging onto the WakeMed Soccer Park, the home of the NWSL's NC Courage. A fine facility surrounded by a lot of trees. And being from Los Angeles and originally from New York, you don't get to see trees that often. Then again, you don't get to see clean air very often. And jokingly, I would say I don't trust air I can't see. But in this case, I certainly trust it. The humidity is what is the factor, though. Ball's loose. Shot attempt. Oh, and that just misses. Real Athletico knocking on that door. And the crowd, the Wrexham Red Dragon faithful, stunned. 60 seconds remaining here within this first half. Ball trying to find its way into Boyd by way of Aaron James. Aaron James wearing number 2. A 19-year-old defender. Was rostered with Wrexham during the EFL League 2 promotion. Backheel pass. A save. Real Atletico keeps knocking on that heaven's door. And, of course, being from Los Angeles, I'm referencing the Guns N' Roses version. That's a foul, a little extracurricular activity there as things starting to get just a wee bit on the chippy side. So substitutions, unlimited substitutions, of course, but the players looking to come onto the pitch need to come when the whistle's blown, and they need to be in the substitution box. If a player comes onto the pitch without being in the sub box, they're going to be immediately charged with a red card. Something to keep an eye on. Taken away by Real Atletico. Poked back away by James. And folks, that's going to be the end of the first half. It is a surprising result thus far. The Wrexham Red Dragons have not found the back of the net, but neither have their counter opponents, the Real Atletico. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go over some stats and still plenty more action to be had here on Field 4 at the TST tournament. If the scoring line stands the way it does, it really will be next goal wins and target score time. But with the way that Wrexham has scored in the past, let's look for a offensive explosion within the next 20 minutes, unless the athletes from Real Atletico have something else to say. Back in a moment. You are watching the TST on YouTube. Welcome back for the second half of this Game 12 matchup in the Group F stage between the Wrexham Red Dragons and Real Athletico. And for the Real Athletico fans, I have to apologize in advance. The names and the rosters that we were given were not in the order of the players that are on the pitch. I can tell you the research has been done, and I know quite a bit about your boys. But obviously, if I didn't have the right numbers and the players are wearing different jersey numbers, I do apologize for that. I'm going to look to get it corrected as best as I can. And we are underway. The score 0-0. As far as shots, it's Real Atletico thus far with the edge. 7 shots to Wrexham 6. Real Atletico, as mentioned at the top of the broadcast, a team that consists of athletes from other sports not called soccer, as a foul gets called, and we see a yellow card issued to, I believe, number 11, George Boyd. Or are they going to issue that? In fact, I think that's going to go towards Mark Albrighton. Mark Albrighton, the Leicester City legend, is going to be booked for the yellow tarjeta, and a free kick for Real Atletico, who towards the end of the first half was really knocking on that door. Not very much distance separates this opportunity from the back of the net, but there is a formidable red wall as that one gets poked away and taken back by Real Atletico. And that ball comes out of play, intended for, well, what I would have believed to have been number 23, Kevin Naranjo. And as mentioned, I do apologize to you folks that are Real Atletico fans. Boyd has it on that right side. Goes into number 2, Aaron James. That ball comes out of play. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize our officials today. Kyle Atkins and Drew Klemp. There's an opportunity that gets saved by the keeper, Joseph Rivas. I've gotten to know Drew Klemp very well over the last few years, calling games in the Major Arena Soccer League. An outstanding official and an up-and-comer in U.S. soccer. Real Atletico looking to mount their attack. Taken away from by Wrexham. And a shot saved. Boyd gets denied by Rivas. Rivas absolutely denies the all-time leading scorer here at the TST tournament. So, ball needing to bounce from the play in, which is why the direction has changed. So that's going to be a free kick for Wrexham.
Almost 3 minutes gone by in the
so
half on
about 3 minutes have gone by here within the second half. Corner kick opportunity here for Wrexham. The ball gets launched in the header. Another save by Rivas. Rivas has built himself up into such a phenomenal keeper this entire morning. The attack in the box, continuing to be relentless. And another opportunity, another close call. Real Atletico, oh so close. Wrexham into the box, another save by Rivas. Free kick and the goal is scored. Goal by number 9, Jake Hyde. The game is no longer deadlocked. The Red Dragons thread through the netting. It is now 1-0. Jake Hyde, we had referenced him earlier. Owns his own gym, a fitness influencer. 16 games played with Wrexham. But this is going to be a memory that he's going to retain for a while, getting the first goal here at the third TST, the third appearance for the Red Dragons. And let's see if the momentum is going to fall in favor of the Welsh Warlords. That's my own little alliteration. But seeing as to how they've built themselves up these past couple of years, how could you say anything less than Warlords? Intercepted by the Red Dragons. Back on the counter, opening things up here late. The pass comes in. Great defense applied by Real Athletico. That was a real athletic move, denying the opportunity as Aaron James collided or converged into the box along with his running mate Jake Hyde. And Real Atletico is going to put the ball back into play. Again, thank you so much to all of you joining us on this broadcast. And a big shout out to Mr. McElhenney and Mr. Reynolds, if y'all are tuning in. I happen to live very close to Burbank High School, and that'd be something that Mr. Reynolds might know, as his wife did attend Burbank High School. Real Atletico maintaining possession, crossing the midfield. And now I'm a little hesitant to tell you who had the opportunity. The shot, that's a goal! If the number holds, and that is correct, a goal scored by Kaner Ascanio, the equalizer, stunning the crowd. The jaws, cartoon-like, dropping down to the pitch and back up. We are tied with 14 and a half minutes remaining. Real Atletico, who are these guys? This is an incredible performance by a team of non-soccer players. This has been utterly impressive. Into the midfield goes Wrexham, crosses it in. Tom Kelly is going to go back over to James Chester. Chester across to James. And now Wrexham tentatively trying to spread Real Atletico's defense. And they are pressuring Wrexham as high as they can. One thing's for sure, these boys are physically fit and built. So the real athletes motto that they go by is not just a statement, it is true. What we have seen here is a stunning performance. Wrexham did get the first goal, but quick response by Real Atletico. So 13 minutes here within the second half. If this result holds, we'll go into target score time with both teams needing to find the back of the net at least once. 2 would be the target score time. And the individual that scores the game winner in target score time will be credited with what's called the Golden Fleece. That is a scarf from Adidas, which will give the recipient of it a lifetime pass to come back to the TST and its counterpart, the originator of this entire tournament, the TBT, which is a basketball tournament. And no surprise that it started with basketball, as NBA legend Chris Paul does have a stake in this beautiful, beautiful organization. And speaking of beautiful, we once again want to highlight the town of Cary, North Carolina. Cary, North Carolina has been so gracious and so accommodating to this tournament. And, of course, economically, they've benefited as well, as we've been told that anywhere from $9 to $30 million in revenue that this city is generating over the course of 6 days. There's a shot saved. And the man who has been on it time and time again for Real Atletico is their keeper, Joseph Rivas. Remember that name, folks. Joseph Rivas has put in an outstanding effort for Real Atletico against a high-scoring offense in that of the Wrexham Red Dragons. That's the goal scorer, which I believe to be, well, I hope it to be anyway, Kaner Ascanio. There's another attempt. And that looked like it, well, that hurt me. Just watching it, I feel concussed. Great defensive effort by Wrexham. Here's an opportunity, a 2-on-1. The pass comes in. The shot comes off of the post. An unlucky attempt. Alex Moore just missed it. He would love to have another crack at that one, as he had Rivas beat. Just clipped it on the wrong end of his boot, hitting that left post on that counter, preventing Wrexham from scoring the go-ahead goal. And with the way the pace is going, Real Atletico is looking to slow down the tempo of this game. In fact, you could argue that they are favoring, wanting to go into that target score time where literally anybody has a chance. We've seen some comebacks before. Earlier today, Plymouth Argyle was up 3-0 on the Drunken Monkeys. The Drunken Monkeys did manage to come back within and towards that target score time, but Plymouth Argyle, yes, the Plymouth Argyle that did get relegated recently, managed to get their first win in their first ever appearance at the TST tournament. For Wrexham, this is a team that is featured every single year that this tournament has run, and they've been very successful. They were looking to continue on with their winning ways, but Real Athletico has been saying otherwise. So we're at the halfway mark of the second half. Will the Red Dragons manage to find a way to thread through this relentless defensive pressure by Real Atletico? Well, the man there set to put the ball in motion, number 5, Mr. Ben Tozer, certainly has the capability of creating some magic, as his pass attempt, I should say, was intended for number 16, Alex Moore. The pass goes towards Rivas. Rivas has looked outstanding. And I do want to highlight these Real Atletico players because they've been incredible. Once again, I do apologize for any of the not mispronunciations, but we have players with certain numbers that apparently are not that. So I do want to give credit where credit is due because I am so impressed with Real Atletico. In particular, that man who maintains that possession, Joseph Rivas. Cross into the box, the header. That gets saved. Tozer connects in with Brandon Barker. Haven't talked too much about Barker here. Barker, who started his youth career at Manchester City. Played with Rangers in the Scottish Premier League. In fact, I believe he was on Rangers when they were Scottish Premier League champions. It's another incredible resume that these Wrexham Red Dragons players have. Score still sits at 1-1. Wrexham did manage to find the back of the net first, but a quick answer from Real Atletico. Both teams went into halftime with a goose egg a pop. That's my slang for 0-0. So we're approaching that target score time. All these games are going to end in a winner. Folks, for those unaware, there's no offside. There's no slide tackling. Slide tackling? Yes, slide tackles. And so we'll talk more about the rules of the TST. I do apologize for those that are fully aware of what that is, but I know with this tournament growing, there are plenty that are tuning in that are unaware. We will have a game winner. There will be no ties. One team will win, one team will lose. And with the way both have been playing, it would be a disappointment because both teams are playing incredibly well here. A fight between Wrexham and Real Atletico as that ball comes out of play. James Chester boxed in. A forward from Real Atletico so they can regain possession. Tozer goes back to his keeper. And speaking of keepers, Abraham Rodriguez is in between the pipes for Wrexham. Played with the Colorado Rapids, Toronto FC in Major League Soccer. In fact, he was a homegrown player playing over for the Rapids over in Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Also within the USL for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. And that one gets kicked away and back to the individual who we were just talking about, Abraham Rodriguez. Rodriguez connects it in with the legendary Ben Tozer. Tozer goes up to number 10, Sakasan. We haven't mentioned his name that often thus far. Here's a young man who started his career over at Leyton Orient, Queen's Park Rangers, Tottenham Hotspur. Significant time, though, at AFC Sudbury between 2021 and 2023. Also featured for #United and, well, had an international run playing 10 caps with the Somalian national team. We are under 6 minutes remaining here in the second half. Real Atletico's shot, a saved Denies it is Abraham Rodriguez. He got his paws all over that attempt. We were highlighting Joseph Rivas with all the valiant efforts he had, but you got to tip your hat off to Abraham Rodriguez. That was an outstanding save for the former Colorado Rapid. Rivas is allowed to come out of the box. Rivas is allowed to be a goal scorer. We've seen plenty of keepers score, and he has an attempt punched out of danger by Rodriguez. And Real Athletico gets to reset. Headed. Smart move by Hassan. Into that midfield. Connecting with the Leicester legend, Mark Albrighton. Pass comes back over to Hassan. Hassan gets through into the box. Intercepted by Real Athletico. Taken away by George Boyd, but the official is going to call for the foul on the pitch. Real Athletico is going to regain possession. The crowd certainly entertained and consistently growing here on Field 4. You'll love to see that. Seeing kids from all over the world. Seeing some NC Courage kits, some Barcelona kits, but plenty of Wrexham kits here and T-shirts. They're looking to will their Red Dragons into the victory table. A shot just sails above. That had a little too much tapatio on its attempt as it sails above the crossbar. Knotted at one still. We're under 4 minutes remaining here in the second half. If this game stays, next goal wins. The target score will be 2. Each team will continue on. If after 3 minutes a goal isn't scored, a player from each side will be removed. We will go from 7v7 after 3 to 6v6 after 3 to 5v5. I hope you all at home are knowing where I would go with the next one. It will never be less than 2v2. Even if a player gets a red card, there will still be 2v2. That's an important thing to note. And that's a lot of ground to cover for players that will no doubt be weathered. Taken away by Hassan. The counterattack opportunity. The shot and the goal is scored. Fighting the back of the net. The second goal of the game for Wrexham. Jake Hyde threads through the netting. Wrexham 2, Real Athletico 1. Defense wins games, folks. Hassan, defensive pressure is what allowed that opportunity to happen. The Red Dragons locking into the box. Nothing that Rivas can do. 2-1 is now the score. About 2:40 remaining. So now that target score goes up by 1 if this result holds, which means 3 will be what the target score needs to be in order to win. Punched out. Wrexham smelling blood in the water here. In fact, water is what a lot of this crowd needs as to the heat index and the humidity index rising here on Field 4. And that ball comes out of play. Real Atletico, you'd have to wonder if fatigue's starting to be a factor as they came out relentlessly, but thus far have cooled off. Their pace has slowed down as Wrexham has started to punish them. And that ball sails into the stratosphere and goes out of play. Again, no throw-ins for those wondering at home. Wide open on the other end of the pitch is number 16, Arthur Godinho. And hopefully that's his number. The shot attempt. Oh, it's loose. Kicked out of danger by Liam McAlinden. That was close. Real Atletico ever so close to finding another answer. They did that after Wrexham scored the first goal. Into the box. Ball is loose. And that's going to be a foul. And the Red Dragons regain possession. $1 million on the line here at the TST tournament. 48 teams competing for that prize money. 24 teams competing for it on the women's side. 2 $1 million pots at the end of this TST rainbow will be awarded on Tuesday. In this case, could Real Athletico make a run for that bag? Can Wrexham make a run for that bag? Looking to build on the success they had last year, where they made it to the round of 16, falling to the Reggae Rovers by a score of 5-1. Wrexham still has it, poked away. Mark Albrighton was on the attack. George Boyd set to put the ball back into play for Wrexham. Pressure into that corner. Wrexham looking to kill some of that clock. 10 seconds remaining. I've been having so much fun, I lost track of time myself. Ball comes out of play. And folks, that concludes the two 20-minute halves. The game, well, it will in a bit. Now it does. Apologies. I got a little ahead of myself. I was feeling pretty froggy, so I jumped from one lily pad to the other. But the score thus far, 2-1 in favor of Wrexham. So the target score will be 3. If Wrexham scores one more, they will walk out of this match victorious. But Real Atletico still has a chance. They just need a little more effort and a couple more goals. So to remind you, it'll start 7v7. After 3 minutes, if no goal has been scored, a player from each side will walk off, and it'll be 6v6, 5v5. You get the point. Until somebody wins. The game winner will be awarded the Golden Fleece by Adidas. That is permission to come back to every TST and every TBT from here till eternity or till death do us part, whichever comes first. I believe eternity will come first. So, what's it going to be? Will it be the Red Dragons? Will it be Real Atletico with a stunner, a shocker, the surprise of the tournament? Thus far, they have looked really good, and they've had an answer for Wrexham. In fact, they had more shots directed towards the goal than Wrexham did in the first half. I believe it was 7-6. I do not have confirmation as to what the second half stats were. But either way, the Red Dragons are currently sitting in the catbird position, up by a score of 2-1. Will Wrexham award their fans? All the supporters they have here, I'm seeing a lot of Wrexham kits here in the stands. But this has been a fun one. All right, back here for the start of target score time here on Field 4. Wrexham Red Dragons 2, Real Atletico 1. Whether you're around here, watching at home, hanging out at the Nag's Head, the Fat Boar, the Turf Hotel in Wales, wherever you are globally, thank you so much for hanging out with us. The target score is 3. Wrexham scores, the game is done. Real Atletico scores, well, they still make it a game. They need 3. We have had comebacks in the past, and some large ones at that. And so, just to reiterate, because it's fun, why not? At this point, it hopefully sunk through. 7v7 after 3 minutes. 6v6 after 3 minutes. 5v5 after 3 minutes. You guessed it. 4v4. So on and so forth. Shot saved! Another dynamite save by Abraham Rodriguez. We're at the TST, but Rodriguez coming out with the TNT on that save. And there's a foul on the pitch, a yellow card. And it looks like Jake Hyde is in a tremendous amount of pain. He collided. 2 players are down. I do see Hyde. I do not see the number on the back of the Real Atletico player. But both players, warriors, not wanting to leave this pitch with anything less than a victory. But it looks like collisions were made. The trainer is going to come out onto the pitch. So this is a moment, folks, and this is the first that we're seeing it on Field 4, where the clock will stop. It'll be based on an injury or an official's timeout. So we will be held here with a stoppage in time as we see the red card get displayed. And if that's number 16 based on the roster sheet I have, it's Arthur Godinho. So both players are up, getting a round of applause from this number of fans that have converged on here.
Again, fans, as a reminder, we are halfway through the first 3 minutes.
So halfway through the 7v7 version of this target score time.
In the red leads Real Athletico in the
George Boyd getting some last-minute instructions from Ben Tozer. And Ben Tozer is going to opt to take the free kick.
7-on-7 soccer.
I'm going to say keep your eyes out on number 12, Callum Edwards. At least momentarily, he was left unmarked. Tozer looking to put the ball into play, weighing in his options. Goes into a Real Atletico brick wall as the Real Athletes on the counter. Opportunity shot. What a save! That thus far has been the save of the game by Abraham Rodriguez. What an effort. Completely outstretched him. And that one took my breath away. And of course, that song's going to be stuck in my head after watching Top Gun the other night. Ball comes back in to Real Atletico's keeper, Joseph Rivas. Pressure being thrown their way. Callum Edwards pressuring the ball up high. Mark Albrighton just standing there, being somewhat of a nuisance to Real Atletico. Albrighton again played for Leicester, was on that team. It was a 5,001 underdog that won the English Premier League. What a fantastic season that was. The Jamie Vardy party year. Rivas going to his left. Rivas going over to his right. Real Atletico not able to advance it from their defensive end of the pitch.
As a reminder for fans, players will come off the field at the first whistle following
So,
the conclusion of the 3 minutes.
First whistle that we're going to hear after these next 3 minutes. We're going to have players being reduced again. 6v6 will turn into 5v5. There it is. Now, another thing to note is the keeper can come off for either team, and they could throw on another attacker just to have the man advantage. We saw that applied earlier today by the Drunken Monkeys when their keeper, Nicolau Neto, would come off in favor of Max Ferdinand. So like hockey, you can throw in another attacker while taking out your keeper, but that is a live by the sword, die by the sword kind of idea. High risk, but high reward. And we've seen teams like Newtown Pride do it. We've seen that exact tactic utilized by Onu Obasi, who was the coach of the year in the inaugural TST tournament, utilizing it for the Empire Strikers in the Major Arena Soccer League. And it clearly worked as he was awarded coach of the year in that league as well. So hitting the deck, but quickly back up on his feet is Mark Albrighton. And Abraham Rodriguez rolls it on over. So Abraham Rodriguez, one of the few players on the pitch for Wrexham to not really be a Wrexham Red Dragon. Don't want to necessarily call him a ringer, but most of his time was spent within the Colorado Rapids system or playing in the USL for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Pass comes into George Boyd, 11 goals throughout the course of his TST career, coming in to this morning's match. And that attempt bounces off. Wrexham still has possession. Hassan, who really was the difference maker to put Wrexham up by 2-1, set to put the ball back in play on the corner end.
6v6 target score action. Wrexham leads 2-1. Target score of 3.
Hassan into Boyd. Boyd back over to James. James into Rodriguez. Wrexham trying to spread Real Atletico defensively.
I say let's go! You say Wrexham! Let's go!
So I just paused for a moment because I just wanted to hear the Wrexham fans start chanting. Operating, well, we can't really call him. Yeah, I guess we could call him the 8th man technically because this is a 7v7 tournament. The cross in, ball is saved, kicked away and out of danger. Another attempt above the crossbar. A close attempt from Albrighton. Oh, Dios mío, that was close. Wrexham just needs 1. Real Athletico 2. The target score is 3. Hassan battles, still has it. And anytime he has gotten involved in the game, Wrexham has been deadly. Chested, intercepted. Bodied off the ball, though. Real Atletico with some numbers. The shot threads through just to the left of Abraham Rodriguez. And we continue to play on. A much-needed reprieve here from Mother Nature as the wind's starting to blow through field 4. Mother Nature and, well, Father Time undefeated in the grand scope of things. And that's the end of that part of target score time.
It's time to take one more player.
So one more player comes off the field for each team.
We are now
5v5 now.
on the pitch. Our target score is 3.
Target score still remains 3. And not sure if you're hearing this through my headphones. That's our public address announcer who's been doing an incredible job. Both teams kind of slowing down a little bit here. But yes, that wind, I could tell you because I am pitch side, felt really nice now that the clouds have moved away and the sun beaming down on all of us. As the song says, the heat is on. Shout out to the member of the Eagles who wrote that song. Pass into James. James into Boyd. Boyd with a shot deflected away. That looked like it might have had the precision that it needed to go in on that bottom right corner where the dust mites have been dwelling. Boyd. Over to Rodriguez. Ball comes back into James. No one crashing into the box as Wrexham is just spreading Real Atletico. Looking to find them snoozing, trying to catch a mistake. George Boyd is in the box. The shot comes in. Another attempt is saved. Real Atletico on the run, but that's going to be a foul and a yellow card issued to Wrexham. We'll call it a tactical foul. And you see the aggressive nature of number 8, Kaner Ascanio. Ascanio did find the back of the net. And so, yes, a yellow card issued to Wrexham.
Number 16, Alex Moore.
Alex Moore is going to get that tarjeta.
We have about 1
Card
minute
is what that means for you non-Spanish speaking folks.
Again, our target score is 3 as Wrexham leads 2-1.
Wrexham leading 2-1. Again, that reminder, 3 is the target score time. Wrexham needs 1. Real Atletico need to score twice. Game is still within anybody's reach, anybody's grasp. The beauty of this TST, not only the tournament itself, which for those wondering stands for the soccer tournament, but it also stands for target score time, which is where we're at this juncture of the match. Now it is Real Atletico's turn to spread Wrexham defensively. Pass comes back in. And I really hope that that's Kaner Ascanio, as I've been very impressed with his performance. That man as well. I've mentioned his name several times. Joseph Rivas. One more player comes off for each side. So we've gone from 7v7 to 4v4. So at this point, you're going to want to put in your fittest players. The adrenaline is high. The endurance needs to be there. We've seen fatigue make cowards out of even the strongest individuals. At this point, it's going to be a matter of who wants it more, who has the heart, who has the confidence. And at this point, I couldn't tell you who that is. Not with the way Real Athletico has been playing, and not with the way Wrexham has been playing. With less people on the pitch, a lot of clear pathways to that goal. And what better opportunity to have than a keeper who has a boot on him? Rivas not looking to score, though. Into the box. The shot. Saved. Ball is loose. A close call. The sweat dripping from the eyebrows and the foreheads of the Wrexham faithful. And myself included. There we could see Wrexham casually advancing the ball across the midfield. Just looking to power up, catch that breath as much as possible. Rodriguez has been a hero thus far. Will we potentially see a goal attempt or a shot from any of the keepers? We have seen that. You don't have to look too far. Sneaky Fox's Chris Toth has managed to score goals in this tournament.
And a reminder for fans walking by, it is 4 versus
4
4.
v 4. On field 4 with a target score time of 3.
Needs 2 goals to reach our target score of 3. Wrexham only needs 1 goal.
So the pressure, well, the pressure has always been there. Can't say it's mounting. Rivas! And that's going to deflect off and past the touchline. Real Atletico is going to play it in. Quick substitution for Real Atletico. Unlimited subs are allowed. But the substitute has to be in the substitution box. He cannot just come onto the field. If they do, that is an automatic red card. And so Real Atletico now is going to pull their keeper and utilize an extra attacker. So that'll give them the man advantage in this case. If they find the back of the net, we will be tied. There's a shot. And luckily there was a net up there, as that would have no doubt landed somewhere in the woods. And with the amount of creatures that we've seen running around here, we might have seen Mother Nature take that size 5 miter ball away from us. And so now we're going to see Wrexham pull their keeper, Abraham Rodriguez, in favor of another attacker. Keep an eye out on number 11, George Boyd. George Boyd was unmarked and was open. That ball gets stripped. Counterattack here, no keeper in. So the individual with the penny is allowed to touch the ball in the box, but there's contact. And we have a foul in the box as 3 players have gone down. So yes, the player that comes in as the extra attacker will be allowed to operate as the keeper, and they can touch the ball while it's in the box. Obviously not outside of the box. The trainer's going to come out onto the field. So the time has run out on 4v4. The clock is going to stop. When we come back, we're going to be 3v3. And so at the conclusion of this game, we're going to get an opportunity to see Athletico Madrid, the mighty Athletico Madrid, from what I've learned, the 17th largest club globally in any sport, and a very successful one at that. It's going to be fun to see legendary players like Diego Godin and Miranda out on the pitch for Athletico Madrid. And they do have a series of players that have competed in the Kings League as well. That is a tournament that was started just a couple of years ago by legendary player Gerard Piqué. And that tournament has continued to grow. So a lot of players that have competed there will be featuring for Athletico Madrid. But that game is going to happen here on Field 4 at the conclusion of this oh-so-tight and hotly contested matchup between Wrexham and the non-soccer players of Real Atletico. If you're wondering why so few players are on the pitch, well, We're into that shot. And there's the goal. There's the game winner. Who else? No doubt about it. Not to be denied. Number 11, George Boyd, registered as his 12th goal within the TST tournament. As a result of the way the game was going, Wrexham wins. I repeat, the Wrexham Red Dragons are going to walk off the pitch with their first win of the third TST. This was an incredible matchup between two teams that were no doubt hungry for the dub. It just so happened, with the amount of players that were on the pitch and the way the ball bounced, George Boyd had a clear shot at goal, and they're going to come out with the victory. The Wrexham Red Dragons, their first win of this TST tournament. An incredible performance by an incredibly well-loved, respected, and supported team. So big shout out to everybody from the Wrexham Red Dragons faithful that were around here. We had a good crowd on Field 4. And that's going to do it for us here for game number 12 of the 134 games that we have going on between June the 4th through June the 9th. So we'll be back for another contest here in about another 10, 15, or 20 or so minutes. So stick around, folks. George Boyd, just to conclude it, gets the Golden Fleece, sponsored by Adidas. George Boyd will be allowed to come back to TST anytime he wants. With the way he's been performing, with the Golden Fleece or not, he should be allowed back anyway. Thank you for tuning into this broadcast, and we'll catch you for Game 3 here on Field 4.